She was exhausted, just off a 14-hour shift. And then, a call from a little girl at 3 a.m. It was a wrong number, but she showed up anyway. And what happened next changed 3 lives forever. Enjoy the story. It was 2:57 a.m., the kind of hour when the world feels hollow, when even the city forgets to breathe. Outside, the wind scraped along frozen gutters, tugging at the tattered flag above a silent fire station. Inside a third-floor apartment, tucked above a laundromat that never slept, a phone began to ring. Not once, not twice, but enough to stir Olivia from the kind of sleep that feels like sinking. She blinked, groggy, one hand searching for the glowing screen. The number was unfamiliar. She almost let it ring. Almost. Then, a voice. Small, cracked, barely louder than a whisper. "Mama? Daddy's chest hurts again." Olivia sat up. Every instinct sharpened. Every ounce of exhaustion burned away in an instant. "I think you have the wrong number, sweetheart," she said, heart already racing. "Who is this?" Silence, then a tremble. "You're not Mama? Are you a doctor?" Olivia's voice softened. "I'm a nurse. What's happening, honey?" "Daddy can't breathe. He's on the floor. He needs help." She didn't ask why a child was calling. She didn't pause to question the danger. She didn't wonder who wrote this number down. She simply moved. Still in scrubs, she grabbed her worn emergency kit. No GPS. No address. Just a child's voice, a description. A white house, black fence, a red light on the porch. Rain was falling as Olivia's car tore through quiet streets, headlights cutting through the dark like questions without answers. Every porch was a maybe, every house a heartbeat. And then, there it was. White paint flaking, iron fence rusted, a red light blinking weakly above the door like a tired heartbeat. She didn't knock. She didn't wait. The door creaked. A small girl stood barefoot, tears staining her cheeks. "You came," she whispered. "I told you I would." Inside, a man lay gasping, his skin the color of paper. Without hesitation, Olivia dropped to her knees, hands steady, movements precise. She whispered calm into the panic, worked between fear and faith. And as the man's chest finally rose without struggle, he looked at her, confused. "Who are you?" Olivia only said, "A little girl called me. I wasn't who she meant to reach, but I came anyway." Olivia wasn't new to exhaustion. It clung to her the way the scent of antiseptic did. Permanent, invisible, a part of her now. Every morning, she woke up in a studio apartment the size of a hospital supply closet. A single window faced the alley. The radiator hissed like it resented its job. And taped above the kitchen sink was a sticky note in her sister's handwriting. "You're still here. That counts." She used to dream of becoming a doctor. But life rerouted her. Tuition ran dry. Time ran out. Her mother got sick. And Olivia stepped into the role of caregiver, first at home, then at work. She chose nursing not because it was easier, but because it was real. Because people bled in front of you. Because you had to listen not just to lungs, but to silence. To grief that wore sneakers. To mothers who held too tightly. To fathers who didn't make it through the doors in time. Her world was triage, and triage had no room for her own wounds. She kept a photo of her parents tucked inside her locker at the hospital, both of them smiling at the beach, before illness and debt dimmed their glow. That photo hadn't been looked at in months. Not because she forgot them, but because it hurt too much to remember who she used to be. Until that night. Until a wrong call at 3 a.m. Until a little girl's voice, so gentle, so frightened, cut through the clinical numbness she'd grown used to. And now, seated on the threadbare couch of a stranger's home, Olivia felt something she hadn't felt in years. Stillness. The kind that wraps around you like a soft blanket. Not because everything is okay, but because, for once, you're allowed to stop pretending. Across from her, the man, Noah, was dozing, an oxygen mask softening his features. He didn't look like a CEO. He looked like a man unraveling slowly, like someone who had carried too much alone. And the child, Lily. She clutched a worn stuffed rabbit and watched Olivia with wide eyes, not the way kids watched adults, but like someone guarding something sacred. She hasn't spoken much since her mom passed, Noah had whispered, but she called you. That stayed with Olivia. Not the medical emergency, not the house, not even the look in Noah's tired eyes. Just that. A little girl trusted a stranger's number enough to whisper for help. Why? Why her? She wasn't anybody's mother. She wasn't anyone's partner. She didn't have a family, a plan, a home anyone waited for. She was just Olivia. A nurse with calluses. A woman who hadn't been hugged in months. Someone who took on other people's emergencies because her own were too quiet to hear. But now a child had looked at her like she was safe. That terrified her more than any hospital shift ever had. In the dim morning light, Olivia wrapped a blanket tighter around her shoulders, glanced at Lily curled up beside her, and let herself wonder, for the first time in a long time, what would it be like to be needed? Not for her skill, but for her presence? The silence held the question, and for once it didn't need an answer. The hospital buzzed around Olivia like it always did, relentless, fluorescent, alive with crises that weren't hers. It had been 3 days since the wrong call. 3 days since she held Lily in her arms. 3 days since she watched Noah breathe steady beneath a threadbare blanket. She hadn't planned to see them again. In fact, Olivia had convinced herself it was a one-time event. An anomaly. An accident of fate that ended the moment she handed the man an emergency inhaler and stepped into the rain. But fate has a way of echoing. It was the child's voice that lingered. The way she'd whispered, "You came." Not like it was a surprise, but like it was expected. And that simple belief, that someone would come for her, unsettled Olivia. She hadn't felt needed like that she couldn't remember. So when her phone buzzed again during a lunch break, a soft ping, not urgent, not demanding, she almost didn't check it. Until she saw the name. Lily, via KidSafe. Her fingers trembled slightly as she tapped the message open. A photo, crayon drawing, 3 stick figures, one tall, one tiny, and one in the middle with a streak of yellow hair. The caption beneath, in shaky letters, "I miss you. Come play?" Olivia stared at the screen for a long time. Too long. Something unfurled in her chest. Not quite pain, not quite joy. She showed the image to no one. She simply closed her locker early that day and walked out into the city mist. When she arrived at the White House with the red porch light, She expected awkwardness. Instead, the door opened before she knocked. Lily launched into her arms, rabbit in one hand, the other wrapping tight around Olivia's waist. "You came again," she whispered. "I told you I would," Olivia said, her voice barely above breath. From behind them, Noah stepped into view. This time he looked present, still pale, still fragile, but more human than last time. He offered a quiet nod, a silent acknowledgement that didn't ask for anything, yet said everything. Inside, the house was warmer. Not physically. It still smelled like reheated coffee and old wallpaper, but emotionally. There was now a space carved out for her, an extra cup on the table, a folded blanket on the couch. Even the rabbit had a second one beside it, a smaller, newer version. That afternoon stretched longer than she planned. They played with sidewalk chalk in the small backyard. Lily drew suns with smiles and stars with too many arms. Noah watched from the steps, silent, sipping tea. Later, as the sky turned amber, he spoke. "I don't know what this is," he said quietly, "but she hasn't smiled like that in a long time." Olivia looked at him. Neither of them asked for this. But somehow, here they were, woven into each other's days, like threads pulled by accident but held by choice. A week passed. Then two. What began as a single visit became a rhythm. Olivia came after night shifts. She brought coloring books. She listened to Lily's endless stories. She reminded Noah to eat, to breathe, to try. He never asked her to stay. She never asked why he didn't. One night she arrived with a small envelope. Inside, 2 tickets to the Children's Museum. Lily shrieked. Noah blinked. "You don't have to." "I know," she said simply, "but I want to." And he let her. The shift came slowly, like dusk. One evening after Lily had fallen asleep on Olivia's lap mid-story, Noah crouched by the couch. "She talks in her sleep now," he murmured. Olivia brushed hair from Lily's forehead. "She says your name." A beat. A breath. Noah exhaled. "I think she's starting to heal." Olivia didn't respond, because something inside her was breaking open too. The kind of break that makes room for something new. Later that week, as she packed up to leave, Noah stood near the door. "I've been meaning to ask." He hesitated, uncharacteristically uncertain. He cleared his throat. "Would you ever consider coming back?" Olivia paused. "Back?" "Not just as a nurse, he said. "As you." The words hung there. Not a proposal, not a plea, just a possibility. She looked at him. This man with shadows in his eyes and softness in his voice. And something shifted. Not everything. Not yet. But something. She nodded slowly. "Maybe," she said. "Let's see what happens." And that was enough. For now. The first sign was subtle. Lily drew a family picture during one of their quiet afternoons. It showed a house, a tree, and 3 stick figures holding hands. One was small. One was tall. The third had yellow hair. "She said that's you," Noah explained, handing Olivia the crumpled paper after Lily had gone to bed. Olivia stared at it for a long moment. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. A few days later, she noticed her toothbrush was still in the bathroom drawer. She hadn't left it intentionally, but she hadn't taken it home either. It sat beside a tiny purple one with unicorn stickers. She closed the drawer slowly. The routine grew thicker. Monday mornings started with pancakes. Wednesdays were coloring book marathons. Fridays, Noah joined them for movie night, always sitting just close enough that their elbows nearly touched, but never did. It wasn't romance. Not yet. It was comfort, familiarity, and Olivia both loved it and feared it. Because this wasn't her home. This wasn't her child. This wasn't her life. And slowly, she began to feel the shape of her own outline, fading. The tension began on a Sunday. She had stayed overnight. Lily had insisted. They'd built a blanket fort in the living room and read stories until the child fell asleep mid-sentence, her head resting on Olivia's chest. Noah had watched quietly, eyes unreadable. In the morning, Olivia found coffee already made. 2 mugs, one with honey. "I remembered," he said simply, handing it to her. She thanked him, smiling, and tried not to wonder why her heart skipped. Then his phone rang. He answered in the other room, voice dropping. It lasted less than a minute. When he returned, the softness was gone. His eyes were distant again. "I have to step out," he said quickly, "just for a bit." Something inside her folded inward. He didn't return until late evening. Olivia had fed Lily, washed dishes, even tucked the child into bed. She waited, unsure whether she should stay. When he finally walked in, Olivia was sitting on the couch, a book unopened in her lap. "Everything okay?" she asked gently. "Fine," he replied too quickly. Silence fell between them like rain that wouldn't stop. "Is this too much?" she asked softly. "Me being here?" Noah's jaw tightened. He looked tired. Not physically, emotionally. "She's just starting to feel safe again," he said. "I don't want to confuse her." Olivia blinked. "That's not what I'm doing." "I know," he said, "but it's complicated." There it was. The line. That night, she didn't sleep. She lay on the small guest bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sound of the house. It wasn't rejection. It wasn't a goodbye. But it wasn't belonging either. She remembered something her old nursing mentor once told her. Sometimes patients won't push you away, but they'll stop inviting you closer. That's what this felt like. The next morning, she left early. Lily was still asleep. Noah didn't come downstairs. She scribbled a note on the corner of a receipt. "Thanks for the tea. I'll check in later." But she didn't. Not that day. Not the next. She waited. Waited to see if the phone would buzz. Waited for the echo of belonging. It didn't come. By the 4th day, the silence had hardened into something brittle. At work, she found herself checking her phone between every patient, every shift. Nothing. And still, she didn't reach out. Because if she had to ask to be wanted, was it ever real? A week passed. She saw a post online, an old friend from nursing school, smiling with her fiancé on a hiking trail. Olivia scrolled past it, then back up. The caption read, "Chose each other, every time." It struck her harder than it should have, because Olivia wasn't sure anyone had ever chosen her. Not fully. Not without conditions. And now she wasn't sure if Noah ever had either. On the 8th day, she got the message. Not from Noah. From Lily's tablet again. A photo of the rabbit. sitting alone. No caption. Just that. Olivia stared at it until her eyes blurred. Then, slowly, she typed, "Is Bunny sad?" The reply came seconds later. "Bunny misses the yellow-haired lady." That was all it took. Her walls cracked. Her hands shook. And this time she didn't hesitate. She packed a bag. Not with medical supplies, just with stories. The ones Lily liked best. Because the conflict wasn't about being pushed out. It was about choosing whether to step back in, even if no one asked her to. And Olivia was done waiting to be invited. She was already part of the story, whether or not the others had realized it yet. Olivia didn't knock this time. She simply opened the gate, crossed the path, and stepped inside like someone returning to a memory she hadn't meant to leave behind. The house was quiet. The porch light still flickered like a tired star, and the faint smell of chamomile drifted through the air. She paused just past the threshold. For a moment, she wasn't sure if she belonged anymore. Then, small footsteps, a whisper of breath. "Olivia?" Lily stood in the hallway, pajama sleeves too long, rabbit tucked beneath her chin. "I didn't think you'd come again." Olivia knelt. "I didn't either," she said honestly. "But I missed someone." The little girl's face broke into something soft and relieved. She reached out, no hesitation. And Olivia held her like someone who'd been waiting for the permission to breathe. That night, Olivia didn't stay on the couch. She didn't sit by the door or hover at the edge of belonging. Instead, she found herself in the kitchen, barefoot, sleeves rolled up, making grilled cheese while Lily told stories about stars. Noah hovered nearby, quiet, present. He handed her a plate without a word. When their fingers brushed, she didn't pull away. Neither did he. Later, Lily curled into bed early, rabbit in one arm, Olivia's old hoodie in the other. "She wears it now," Noah murmured from the hallway. "Every night." Olivia smiled faintly. "It's oversized. She says it smells like you, that it keeps the nightmares away." Something in Olivia's chest folded at the corners. She walked to the living room and sat beside Noah, not across from him. Close. A pause. "She asked if we were a family," he said quietly. "What did you tell her?" "I didn't know what to say." They sat in silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was the silence of two people who knew how to exist side by side without filling the space with noise. Over the next few days, Olivia stayed longer. She brought tiny rituals with her. A scarf for Lily's stuffed rabbit, a new mug for Noah with a sleepy bear, and the words, "Keep going." A morning playlist she made just for the kitchen. Nothing loud, nothing official, just threads. She didn't say it, but part of her wondered, could love look like this? Soft, repeated, unannounced. The real shift came in a moment she almost missed. It was raining outside, lightly but persistent. Lily had fallen asleep beside the bookshelf, a storybook still open in her lap. Olivia went to shut the windows and found Noah already there. She froze. He was just standing, one hand resting on the sill, staring out. "You ever feel like the rain understands you?" he asked. She tilted her head. "Only on the days I feel quiet." He glanced at her then, a small curve in his mouth that wasn't quite a smile, but wasn't sadness either. You left once, he said. I didn't stop you. You weren't supposed to, she replied gently. That's not your job. Another pause. I kept the porch light on, he said. Every night. Olivia blinked. That's why it always flickers? He nodded. Bulb's almost dead. I didn't replace it. I guess part of me wasn't ready to let go. She looked at him, really looked at him. For the first time, she saw a man not just grieving, but choosing to keep a door open. Not out of habit, but hope. That night, she didn't leave early. She stayed until Lily's breathing evened, until Noah fell asleep on the couch, book half open across his chest. She walked quietly through the hallway, stopping by the kitchen. She poured a cup of tea, his favorite, and left it by the sink. And then she did something small. She replaced the porch bulb. It was still flickering when she stepped outside. But now, it glowed warmer. 3 days later, Olivia brought her old photo album. It was something she never shared, not with anyone. Faded pictures, her mother in an apron, her father laughing near a broken bicycle, a younger Olivia in a Halloween nurse outfit, long before she'd ever stepped into an ER. Lily flipped through it with reverence. "This is your family?" she asked. "It was," Olivia replied. "In a way, it still is." The little girl nodded solemnly. "Then we can be yours too." Olivia didn't answer. She just reached for Lily's hand and held it tight. Symbolic things began to appear. Noah brewed 2 cups of coffee every morning now, whether she showed up or not. A photo of Lily with Olivia went on the fridge. Not center, not big, but there. And on the hallway shelf, next to Anna's picture, was a tiny drawing. 3 stick figures under a porch light. This time, no one was in the middle. They stood side by side. The shift wasn't loud. It didn't come with confessions or declarations. It came in the way Lily ran to Olivia instead of calling her, in the way Noah waited by the gate, hands in his pockets, eyes softer than she remembered. It came in the way Olivia started carrying 2 keys, and how, every time she reached for the door, it was already unlocked. Because sometimes love doesn't knock. Sometimes it simply walks in, barefoot, carrying tea, and never leaves. It started with a door left ajar. One afternoon, Olivia walked into the house to find the kitchen quiet, the lights off. Lily wasn't at the window. Noah wasn't in his usual place with the morning paper. She called out softly. No answer. Then she heard it. Muffled voices from the back room. She followed the sound to the guest bedroom, her room unofficially. The door was open just a crack. Inside, Noah was on the phone, his voice low, strained. "No, I told you, she's just helping. No, she doesn't live here. It's not like that." Pause, then. "She's not part of the family." Olivia didn't move. She didn't need to hear more. She turned around, walked back to the front door, and left, quiet as she came. That night, she didn't respond to Lily's messages. She didn't reply when Noah texted, "Everything okay?" Because no, it wasn't. It wasn't about the words. It was the space between them. The silence that said, "Not part of the family." She had built routines, made tea, replaced light bulbs, heard bedtime fears, brought dreams, but not part of the family. Just someone helping, someone temporary. 2 days passed. The air outside grew colder, as if mimicking the distance now wedged between them. Olivia moved through her shifts like a ghost. Polite, efficient, empty. On the third day, she found herself walking to the house again, half conscious, half regretful. The porch light was still on, but she didn't go in. She stood outside, staring at the flickering bulb, wondering if it meant what she once thought it did. Then the door opened. Noah stood there. He didn't look surprised. "Are you coming in?" he asked quietly. Olivia hesitated. "I'm not sure if I should." His brow furrowed. "Why?" "Because I heard you," she said. "On the phone. The other day." The words dropped like pebbles into a still pond. Noah's face paled slightly. "That wasn't— You said I wasn't part of the family." A beat of silence. Then another. "I didn't mean it like that." "Then how did you mean it?" He stepped forward. "I was talking to my sister. She's protective. She asked questions, she assumed things." "And you corrected her," Olivia said, her voice cracking. "You made sure she knew I wasn't part of this, that I was just helping." Noah's mouth opened, then closed. "I didn't know how to explain it," he admitted. "You and me, this thing, it doesn't have a name." Olivia nodded slowly. "That's the problem." Later that evening, Lily asked why Olivia didn't stay for dinner. She said she had things to do, but Lily wasn't convinced. She clung tighter than usual at the door, whispering, "Don't go forever, okay?" Olivia smiled as best she could. "I won't, I promise." But her voice felt like a lie. That night, Olivia sat on the edge of her bed and stared at her emergency bag, the one she hadn't used in weeks. It was still packed, still ready, like her heart, ready to run, always. The following day, a letter arrived at Noah's doorstep, not in an envelope, just folded neatly, tucked beneath the tea mug she left behind. No name on the outside. Inside it read, "I didn't need you to call me family, but I needed to believe I wasn't just passing through. If this was just kindness, I'll walk away with gratitude. If it was more, then say it, show it, name it." She didn't sign it. She didn't need to. Noah sat at the table for hours, rereading that note. He thought of all the nights Olivia had sat beside him in silence, all the times she'd touched their lives without asking for a place in them, and how he had allowed her to orbit them, close enough to warm, but never close enough to stay. He had thought he was protecting something. Now he wasn't sure what. That night, Noah didn't sleep. He walked through the house long after Lily had gone to bed, paused by the scarf Olivia had left for the rabbit, ran his fingers across the mug she never reclaimed. He walked to the porch, looked at the light she once replaced, still flickering, still waiting. Sometimes breakdowns don't explode. Sometimes they arrive quietly, in folded letters and unsaid names, in the gap between what we do and what we mean, and in the courage it takes not to fix it, but to admit we broke it. It was the first Saturday Olivia had nowhere to be. No night shift, no pre-dawn house visit, no alarm. She woke up late, her studio quiet, except for the faint ticking of the wall clock and the hiss of the radiator. The tea she made went cold beside her. She didn't drink it. Outside, the streets pulsed with weekend life. Mothers tugging strollers, kids chasing pigeons, shopkeepers lifting awnings with tired familiarity. But Olivia stayed still. Everything felt suspended, like a sentence mid-word, like a breath waiting for what comes next. She hadn't gone back to the house since the letter, and neither of them had said anything more. By afternoon, she found herself walking without knowing where she was going. Her feet carried her past the corner market, the dog park, the bench where she once sat with Lily to share juice boxes and jelly beans. She passed the bookstore, stopped, turned back. Inside, she browsed with no intention to buy, until her hand paused on a book she recognized instantly. The Brave Little Fox, Lily's favorite. She flipped through the pages. The illustrations were the same, simple, soft, slightly faded, but something inside her cracked at the final line. The fox didn't know where the trail led, but he followed it anyway, because someone was waiting at the end. Olivia bought the book. She didn't wrap it. At 7:40 p.m., Noah opened his front door to find it there. The book, resting neatly on the mat. A sticky note pressed to the cover. For her, in case she still waits. No signature, but he knew. He always knew. That night, Noah sat on the living room floor, the book unopened in his lap. Lily had gone to sleep hours ago, Rabbit curled in her arms, wearing Olivia's hoodie again. He stared at the note, and finally, he cried. Not loudly, not with violence, but with the quiet ache of a man who realized he had built walls to protect himself, and ended up alone behind them. In the morning, he opened the book and placed it beside Lily's bed. Then he opened his laptop. The reinstatement form was still there, half-filled, forgotten. He finished it, line by line. Then, heart-pounding, he clicked Submit. 3 days passed. On the 4th, Olivia returned to the hospital. Not for work, not in uniform. She had volunteered for a first aid class being hosted for new parents. The room was filled with folding chairs, mismatched dummies, and nervous laughter. She moved through it like a ghost, wearing someone else's name tag, until a familiar voice said, "You still explain CPR the same way." She turned. Noah stood in the doorway, not in a suit, not in grief, just in jeans and a soft gray sweater. Normal, real, alive. She stared at him. "I didn't know you'd be here," she said, her voice cautious. He took a step forward. "I wasn't sure I would come." Another pause, then, "I got your note," he said, "and the book." "She loves it," he added quietly. Olivia looked down at her shoes. "I didn't know what else to say." "You said enough," he replied. "Now let me try." They walked out into the hallway. It was quiet there, neutral space. He pulled something from his pocket. Not a gift, a list. Folded, wrinkled, handwritten. "Things I haven't said," he murmured, "but should have." He didn't hand it to her. He read it. "Number 1, he began, voice trembling. "I was scared of letting anyone matter again. Number 2, I thought if I didn't name this, it wouldn't hurt when it ended. Number 3, I never meant to make you feel outside of this." He looked up. "And number 4, a pause. I want you in her life, not as a helper, not as a visitor, as someone who belongs." The hallway held its breath. Then he folded the list and placed it in her hand. "I don't have a name for what we are, but I know it's not nothing, and I'm done pretending it is." Olivia's throat tightened. Not because of his words, but because of how long she had waited to hear them. Later, they sat on a bench outside the building. Lily wasn't there. No mug of tea, no porch light. Just two people in the quiet. "I don't need promises," Olivia said softly. "I've learned how easily they break." "I'm not offering promises," Noah said. "I'm offering presence." She turned to him, and for the first time, didn't feel like she was waiting for him to decide. He already had. That evening, Lily opened the door to find both of them standing there. Olivia held a small plant in her hand. "For your windowsill," she said. "What's it called?" Lily asked. Olivia crouched beside her. "I don't know. You get to name it." The little girl thought for a moment, then beamed. "Let's call her Hope." Noah and Olivia met eyes, and neither of them corrected her. Because maybe that's what this was now. Something unnamed. Something growing. Something rooted in light. Even if it started in the dark. Spring arrived slowly. Blossoms pushed through city cracks like defiant whispers, and the park benches, once cold and bare, bloomed with strangers holding coffee and quiet. Olivia began spending mornings at the White House again. Not every day, not with routine, just enough to feel the hum of belonging without demanding it. She brought small things: a new watering can for Lily's plant, a jar of honey for Noah's late-night tea, a photo of her parents, framed but not explained. Noah noticed, but didn't ask. Some stories bloom best in silence. It was on a Thursday when everything changed. She arrived late. The house was unusually still. No cartoons echoing from the living room. No Lily at the window. She knocked. Waited. Then opened the door with the key Noah had given her 2 weeks ago but never talked about. Inside. Noah was on the phone, pacing, his voice tight. "Please just keep her calm. I'm almost there." He looked up as Olivia entered. Their eyes locked. "It's Lily," he said. "She collapsed at school." The room didn't move, but everything inside her did. The hospital was 30 minutes away. They made it in 20. Noah drove. Olivia sat beside him, her hand gripping the seatbelt like it could anchor her. She didn't speak. He didn't ask her to. At the ER desk, they were met with clipped voices and clipped movements. Noah gave his name. "I'm her father. Please. Lily Campbell, 5 years old." The nurse glanced up. "And you?" she asked, looking at Olivia. Noah hesitated, then turned. "She's family," he said. He didn't look at Olivia when he said it. He didn't need to. She had already started moving. The hours blurred. Lily had a febrile seizure. Not uncommon. Not dangerous, the doctor said. But frightening. Especially to a father who had already lost too much. Noah sat slumped in a plastic chair, staring at the ground. His hands clenched. "She was fine this morning," he murmured. "I know," Olivia said, crouching beside him. "You didn't do anything wrong." He looked at her, eyes rimmed red. "You don't know that." "I do," she whispered. "Because you were there." And this time he let her take his hand. Later, when Lily woke, she was groggy and confused. Olivia sat beside her bed, gently brushing curls from her forehead. "Hey, little fox," she said softly. Lily blinked. "Did I get lost?" "No, Olivia said. You just took a detour. Did Daddy cry? Olivia smiled. Just a little. Did you? A little more. Lily's eyelids fluttered. You didn't leave. No, Olivia whispered. I won't. That night, they returned home together. Noah carried Lily upstairs while Olivia made tea, 2 cups out of instinct. When he came down, he looked tired but grounded. He stood at the doorway for a long time, watching her. You know, he said, voice quiet, you're the only person who ever brought warmth back into this house. She met his gaze. You gave me the space to bring it. He stepped closer. I kept waiting to be ready, he said. For everything. For naming it. For risking it. And now? He took a breath. Now I think life doesn't wait. He reached into his pocket, pulled out the same ring box he'd once shown her, unopened. This time he opened it. Inside, not just a ring, but a folded piece of paper beneath it. She lifted it gently. It was Lily's drawing, the stick figures under the porch light. This time her name was written beneath one of them. Olivia, ours. Her breath caught. I'm not asking you to marry me, Noah said. Not yet. I'm asking if you'll stop standing at the door like you don't already live here. She didn't answer with words. She leaned forward, rested her forehead against his, and exhaled like someone who had been holding her breath for years. They didn't announce anything. They didn't throw a party or change their social media statuses. They just kept going. Lily recovered. Olivia stayed. Noah smiled more often, softer. And one evening, as the 3 of them sat on the porch watching the sun slip behind the rooftops, Lily leaned into Olivia's side. Did you ever get a wrong call again? Olivia laughed. No, Lily nodded. That's okay. I think one was enough. She looked up. It gave me you. Noah reached for Olivia's hand then. No hesitation, no fear, just presence, and she held it like a promise. Sometimes, love isn't lightning. It's a porch light left on, a drawing tucked into a ring box, a child whispering hours on a Tuesday. Sometimes the final choice isn't a grand gesture. It's the decision to stay, and the courage to name what's already true. 1 year later, the house still looked the same. Same flaking white paint, same rusted fence, same red porch light, now replaced with a warm bulb that no longer flickered. But inside, everything had changed. The living room, once filled with grief, now overflowed with motion. Lily ran barefoot across the rug, paper crowns on her head, dragging a blanket behind her like a cape. Olivia sat cross-legged on the couch, sorting colored pencils and half-finished drawings. Noah leaned against the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. The rhythm was soft, not perfect, but steady. Every Sunday, they had a ritual: morning waffles, blanket fort story time, and one quiet walk. No phones, no distractions. It wasn't scheduled. It was sacred. This Sunday, they walked to the park. Lily held Olivia's hand with one side and Noah's with the other. The sun scattered light through the trees, and their shadows moved like one long, unbroken line. At the pond, Lily released 2 paper boats. One said Team Campbell, the other, in her careful, crooked letters, Coach Liv. I gave her the nickname, she told an older couple nearby, because she teaches hearts how to feel better. The strangers smiled. Noah and Olivia just looked at each other and said nothing. That evening, as Lily fell asleep with her arms wrapped around two mismatched rabbits, Olivia lingered at the door longer than usual. Noah appeared beside her. "She never had nightmares again," he said. "Not since you started staying." Olivia's hand brushed the doorway. "I still have bad nights sometimes." "So do I," he said. They didn't try to fix each other. They just stood in the quiet. Two people who had once been shattered in different corners of the world, now learning how to rebuild side by side. Weeks passed. The seasons turned soft again. Olivia never moved in, not officially. But somehow, her mug was always by the sink, her shoes by the door, her heartbeat in every room. One morning, Lily woke up early and ran into their room, yes, their room now, with a piece of paper. It was a drawing, a house, a garden, and 3 hearts, 2 big, 1 small, floating above the roof like balloons. "This is us," she said. "But up here," she pointed to the hearts. "So even if we're not in the house, we're still here." Noah kissed her forehead. Olivia cried, but didn't wipe the tears away. One evening, they had guests, a few neighbors, some hospital staff, even Olivia's old nurse mentor, who brought cookies shaped like stethoscopes. Someone asked casually, "So, what are you now? Roommates? Something more?" Olivia looked to Noah. He shrugged, then smiled. "Survivors," he said, "who stopped waiting for perfect titles." They toasted to that. On the anniversary of the wrong call, they didn't plan anything. But just after 3:00 a.m., Olivia woke to find Noah already sitting on the porch, barefoot, holding 2 mugs. One for her. No words. She sat beside him, and together, in silence, they listened to the sound of a house no longer aching. Later that morning, Lily patted out, rubbing her eyes. "Did I miss something?" "Only peace," Noah said, pulling her onto his lap. Olivia wrapped a blanket around all 3 of them. The sun broke through the clouds like a gentle laugh, and the red porch light clicked off, just as the morning truly began. They never told Lily about the exact call that brought Olivia to them. Not in detail. But one day, when she was older, she asked, "What if I had dialed the right number?" Olivia thought for a moment. "Then I wouldn't be here." Lily frowned. "But I wanted you." "And somehow," Olivia said softly, "you still found me." Noah added, "Sometimes the wrong number is exactly the right call." The house grew, not in size, but in soul. A new plant by the windowsill, a dent in the hallway where Lily bumped her scooter, photos, laughter, quiet apologies, late-night cocoa, and always, one extra chair at the table, in case anyone else called by accident. Just in case. As for Olivia, she still worked at the hospital, but she also taught. First aid, compassion, presence. Every lesson ended the same way. Answer the call, even if it's not meant for you, because it might be meant for who you'll become. As for Noah, he returned to medicine. Part-time, humble, the kind of doctor who no longer wore suits, but carried stickers in his pocket just in case a child needed courage. And as for Lily, she grew, with wild hair and wilder laughter. She made mistakes. She got scared. She healed. And every night, she fell asleep with her arms around Olivia's old hoodie, the one that always smelled like hope. In the end, nothing grand happened. No diamond rings, no stage-lit confessions. Just a house, a porch light, a woman who answered a call, and a family that formed, not from planning, but from choosing. Again, and again, and again. If you've made it this far, leave A in the comments, because maybe love doesn't come in straight lines. Maybe it comes at 3 o'clock a.m., when someone whispers, "Help." And maybe, just maybe, the story that changes your life starts with a wrong number and ends with the right people. Together.